if I were a lawyer, and I were a lawyer that regularly engaged in deposing witnesses, I would really talk to myself about, honestly, it's easy to say because this was so egregious that that would never happen, right? I would never put up with this for 12 hours. We are all saying that. I would never put up with this. This is ridiculous. But then you miss the point. You miss the lesson in it. And I think the lesson is take a real hard look at yourself and how you deal with people who are confrontive with you. Your spouse, a boss, a sibling, your child. How do you deal with it? And how resilient are you to that? Can you take a knock and does it ruin you? Or can you take a knock and can you think about it, look at where you were responsible, and rise to the occasion? And that's a skill that's learned. It takes work to hear the bad stuff, turn it into something positive and a learning experience for yourself and try to move forward in a better direction. Take responsibility a little bit for each one of those interactions. It's a very hard learned skill, and most people don't do that. It's easier to say, psh, the badger, I mean, who could have handled the badger? You know, he was a crazy guy and he was screaming his head off for 12 hours. Who could have, you know? It's not just about them though. That lawyer that sat there should be thinking, why on earth did I do this? And what do I need to change so that I don't humiliate myself again and I don't subject the people around me to something so unnecessary again? And it goes, that same idea holds true in interactions in a workplace, in the home, anywhere. Take a look at yourself. You are vulnerable in places that you don't realize. That's why we all could fall prey to something like this. None of us are above that.
We've discussed this exercise of active empathy, of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. We talked about it with the court reporter. We talked about it with the bully. To what degree is that present or absent in the two people that we've talked about, the deponent and the attorney taking the deposition? To what degree is the behavior evidence of either of those? A lack of empathy or an over-empathization, I guess?
Yeah, I think they kind of fall along the same continuum on the opposite ends. I think this very entitled, aggressive guy thinks he knows everything, thinks he knows everyone, probably underneath it all is terrified of what's happening and getting in trouble. But, you know, spouting off and screaming at everyone. When you think you know everything and you know everyone and you know how the world works and you know the law better than everyone, then it doesn't matter what the little people think. It matters not. And if they think something, I know them, they'll tell me. So I think that on the one side, the deposee is completely overtly dismissive of other people's well-being. Doesn't matter. He just wants to be heard, and that's all that mattered. On the side of the attorney who was deposing him, frankly, the attorney for the deposee was a real piece of work, in my opinion, too. He sat there and allowed this to continue unnecessarily. And how much, if I really have empathy for all the people and the players, they're sitting in this room aside from the deposee and his attorney, I would end it. Even if I felt uncomfortable, if I'm really aware of how these other people are feeling and how uncomfortable people are, how aggressive he is, how he could escalate, how it could get worse, how threatening it was, I end it, even if I have to see the judge. I'm not going to put them through that. So on the passive side, I think he was just as egregious in some ways. Again, not knowing what's in any of their heads, just totally speculating.
Mm-hmm. Be careful when
you kind of cover your right.
It's the only time. It's fine.
It's the only time you did it.
That's okay. It's going great. It's going great.
Okay.
We've only got, you know, everything else is great. And I also meant to tell you, your hair looks great.
Oh, thanks.
You asked me before, and I didn't respond to you, and I'm realizing I didn't respond because it looked great. Okay.
I completely stopped thinking about my hair until just now. Thank you very much.
That's perfect. And now I reminded you. Sorry. Let's talk a little bit about the attorney for the deponent.